Dr. Jazz.
No, but thanks so
Dr.
much, man, for
Jazz.
taking the time. You know, it's
Oh yeah, I appreciate you asking me. Where are you located? I like your shirt.
oh
That's
yeah.
a blast from the past. There.
Oh, what this
Yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you
yeah.
you probably played there, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I got memories of. Got a pretty distinct memory of that place.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
playing. Yeah.
What was it?
um, I was playing there with Stanley Turntine.
Oh man.
Trying to remember the year. I think I was in Chicago. Yeah, I was in Chicago already. So it was like early '90s, maybe '91. And I remember Marcus came, and it was all in the same night. And then I look up, and there's George Benson and Philip Church.
Wow, man.
And somebody else, I think Ron Carter came. Ron Carter and his son Ron Jr. came. I don't know if it was that night. It was in that little run. It was 4, 3, 2-day run or whatever. But yeah, this particular night, I remember Marcus was there, and then George and Phil Upchurch, and they were teasing me because I moved to Chicago. Maybe it had been about 70. I think I left New York in '84.
Oh yeah, right.
80, yeah. So, I've been there for a minute, but they're teasing me because I used to say when I was younger than that, I'll never leave New York. I was a staunch New Yorker, still am, but I was like the world revolved around, and I traveled a little bit enough to know that the
Oh, sure.
world didn't revolve around, but I guess I was still young and I believed that it did still. But yeah, they were teasing me. Why'd you move, man? I know why he moved. There's only one reason it could be, and of course that was the reason, but
The usual, yeah.
yeah, and it was a trip though to be playing. First of all, just to be playing Sugar with Stanley Turntine after having heard that record a million times as a kid, and like adoring
Yeah.
all of those musicians, and the sound was embedded in my DNA. And then to be up there, some nights I'd just be like, "Whoa," and playing the melody an octave below, and
Yeah, yeah.
like George on the record, and then there's George out there, and I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I've heard so many like Mark Whitfield also said like the same story kind of with George. It's like
Uh-huh.
everyone, I think your generation, when Benson came to see them, it was like, wow, okay,
Oh yeah, man.
come on,
Oh
please.
yeah. I got plenty of Benson stories, but he's still coming to see me, which is nice.
Ah, really? Oh, wow, beautiful.
Yeah, I saw him. Obviously before the pandemic, a few years ago, maybe 17. He came out. And I was in Arizona in his town, playing. He came out. Joey DeFrancesco came out that night as well.
Oh, wow.
So they both live out there. But man, George stayed all night. He stayed 2 sets and to the end, and his wife was with him. And I was like, dang, George, take your wife home, man. She's sitting there like, he stayed to the end. And at the end, he came up to the bandstand and was talking, and, yeah, it was pretty cool. So I've known him for a long time. I've known him since I was probably about 18, 19 years
Really?
old. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well,
Mm.
did you guys ever play together, like at home, like as a duo or something like that?
I went to his house. I don't remember. No, not really. Not really. But
Yeah, it's
That's
and
cool. I wouldn't know what to do anyway.
I've spoken to Rodney Jones. You know, you played a lot with Rodney, and
Yeah, that was
he
my
was.
idol coming up.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I love Rodney's playing, and of course, he told me like he went to George's house many times,
Hmm.
and then George played like solo. You know, he hasn't done
Exactly.
any solo records yet. Maybe.
But he did some quite. Trying to think how many pieces. Maybe just one. He did that Danny Boy on. Have you heard the record Guitar Man?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but that's it's like not a whole record, you know. Like,
Yeah,
and
right.
I know Rodney Jones told me like he said like he went to George's house and then George played solo for him like half an hour, and it was like forget Joe Pass Virtuoso, or you know, it was just like
I know.
everything there is to play on solo
Yeah. I
jazz
just
guitar.
watched a student slash fan of mine just sent me this video of him talking about playing with his thumb with a dude on the internet, and he just ripped stuff. It's ridiculous. You know, he continues to practice, and now his thing, I guess, over the last 20 years has been developing that
Yeah,
thumb, and he's got it like Wes and gone to the next, you know, the next level with it, just in terms of, you know, George already had that crazy technique, so that's how he wants to play. And just because he's playing with his thumb, he's not gonna let that deter him from playing what he wants to play. So he's been working on it, and boy, it's incredible.
yeah,
I don't think people really, um, especially this generation of guitarists, jazz guitarists, so to speak,
yeah.
pay attention to him the right way.
I
They
agree.
don't. I don't know if they really know. Like some of them do, of course, but I don't know if what do you want to call it? The culture of jazz guitar, the society of jazz guitar, if you will, in general,
Hmm.
really knows. I mean, you know, it should be unanimous,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Oh, I
Uh,
agree. I agree.
yeah.
It's like you know, I teach and I did a jazz workshop in August, and you know, everyone is talking about this kind of newer generation of guitarists, and
Mhm.
already
Mhm.
like mentioning Grant Green to someone, it's like to these younger teens or early 20s, it's like, who? I was like, Grant Green people? I mean, are you kidding me? You know, like, or you know, like George's solo on Take Five. That's the first one of the first solos I've heard. I was like
Me too.
blown away, man.
Me too. Me too.
Take, that's
That was the record actually, and the was
oh,
that the one? Yeah, that was the
Bad
record
solo.
that
That's
that was the record that was the deciding factor for me in
uh-huh.
like my decision to pursue this as you know, um, I don't know if I was thinking career as much as
Yeah.
just this is what I want to do with my life. You know, I was at a point where I had a teacher that was, he was a jazz guitarist, like on the weekends. And he played professionally, but he had a day, he had a 9 to 5,
Mhm.
and then he had gigs every weekend. So, and I would go to lessons with him on Saturday mornings for about 2 years straight. I went. And
Oh,
pretty much every his name was Jimmy Carter. He was up in 150 something street in Harlem,
mm.
and pretty much every week he would tell me I should listen to Wes Montgomery. And we would be playing things like the first tune he ever gave me to play was "Let's Stay Together," so I liked him right off the bat.
Yeah.
And we would do some songs from the radio, but we would also do standards and stuff. So he was teaching me the repertoire, and I could not play. I mean, I don't know what I was doing, but
How old were you?
I was probably 13.
Oh, wow, so young.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And so, he was just kind of helping me by doing kind of, and we would just play together, and he'd play an intro, and he expected me to at least learn the chords the following week. And so then he played an intro, and then he nod me in, and I play. I mean, I had some kind of musical acumen, so I could kind of follow along pretty well. But he played a melody, and he'd take a solo, and I'd be comping for him, and then he'd give me a solo, and he'd comp for me, and I don't know what the heck I was playing because I couldn't play. I mean, like I said, I had some musical acumen, but it only went so far at that point. I mean, I had no technique. I think I was playing with my thumb because he played with his thumb, but all downstrokes. All downstrokes.
Okay.
That's what he did. So that's what I did. I was trying to be just like him, So I really looked up to him, and he used to tell me just about every week, listen to Wes Montgomery, and I'd say, okay. And then as soon as I left his house, it was like, whatever, man. I'm going to put the radio back on, listen to Kool and the Gang, whatever, is on the radio. And I started hearing stuff on the radio, like Herbie Hancock, Chameleon was popular.
Oh, yeah. Headhunters, yeah.
Grover Washington, Mr. Magic was popular. So now I'm hearing this on the station I listen to, like it's coming on every day, a few times a day. Yes, and they would say something, might mention jazz, but it was like a top 40 black station, but they were playing these tunes, and I'm like grooving to these tunes, and I'm listening to like what the solos and going like, yeah, and then, whoa, wait, this is jazz? If this is jazz, maybe I need to check this out. Maybe I do like jazz, because up to that point, I wasn't sure I liked jazz, really. Even though I had a Charles Earlin record when I was 10 that I became obsessed with. This is before I started playing the guitar.
Which one was it?
Black Talk, with More Today Than Yesterday and The Age of Aquarius. Again,
that's
radio.
Houston Person? No, Houston.
With Houston Person.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Virgil Jones.
Yeah, okay.
Idris.
Yeah.
Right?
And Melvin
Sparks, who I have his name circled on the album too, since
what a player.
when I was 10. So I was thinking about the guitar, but I wasn't playing yet. So that I was upset. I mean, I played that record every day. Like for friends, when they would come over to the house to play, I put that record on.
It's very
approachable. Anyway, I didn't know I liked jazz, though. I didn't know that was jazz. I wasn't thinking like that. I just liked that record, the vibe, and the way they approached the tunes, and I knew the tunes from the radio. Okay, so these songs started coming on the radio, and I said, "Man, wait a minute. So, is there somebody doing that on the guitar like that, like Grover and Herbie?" So I went to the record store and I asked the gentleman, and he turned around to the stack, pulled out Bad Benson, put it down on the counter, and I looked at the cover, and the cover alone. For me, this is the 70s, New York. I'm a young black kid. The movie Shaft had probably just come out, right? So I'm like all about, impact. Like it was something about, well, I'll get to that in a minute, because maybe this was the first instance of it. Seeing that cover made an impression on me. Like, who is this guy? With the, looking all cool and powerful, quietly powerful, and the medallion and the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, the guy told me this is, so I took it home, and that's the first thing I heard was Take 5. And my jaw was on the floor. I had never heard guitar played like that, let alone with that technique, but let alone all those melodies, because
and the arrangements and everything.
I've been listening to music for, since I was like 4, like really avidly. Like I would have the radio by my head when I was going to sleep. Music was my friend, and all those songs and every arrangement, I knew all the parts, and I didn't even know I was listening like that until much later on. But that's how I was listening as a kid. And so I'd heard a lot of melodies. Songwriting back then was still very, it had a lot of harmony. And
it was incredible.
Yeah. So I was hearing a lot of stuff. So then I'm hearing this guitar that could seemingly play any melody he wanted at any given point. And I'm going like, whoa, really? You can be that free and expressive and creative on the jazz guitar? I'm in. That was it. The decision was made. And it wasn't even like, I want to sound like George Benson. Forget that. I knew immediately I would never sound like George Benson. I had sense enough to know that's George Benson. If I can, what I want to do is make myself feel those same emotions. The beauty, the happy, the sad, the exciting, all those things that I felt listening to him and later on to all the other musicians. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to do that. Now, when I listened to George, when I listened to Wes, it was never about sounding like them because it was only about having their music wash over me and enjoying it as a listener.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as I then got into the music and started to try to understand the story of jazz and what was this thing that I was so attracted to and the sound, where did it come from? When did it start? Oh, modern jazz, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles, blah, blah, blah. I started buying records. I'd buy a record a week. I got an allowance of $5 or $10. Sometimes my dad would give me $10. I'd get 2 records. Records were $5.
Man, wow.
And every time he'd give me a 10, and he'd look like, I know what you get ready to do. Right to the record store to that same guy, right?
Wow, man, that's
and it was like collecting these records and seeing the figures and understanding the story. That was empowering to a young Black kid at the time to see. It was like, yeah.
Especially in the 70s, to discover this. Like now it's easy, now you Google and it's like, okay. You go to Wikipedia or whatever, you press this name, you get 20 other. But back then, I guess, and it was like... I used to stand in a record store for hours, literally, because I had $10. I could buy 2 records. What 2 records am I going to buy? Looking at this row full of, I know exactly the feeling.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So I'd have to make okay, I want to get one guitar player, and then I got to get a Miles Davis record. Yeah. Okay, now I guess a piano. Okay, who can I get on piano? Well, let's see. Oh, Red Garland played with Red Garland's also on this record. Trying to connect like that.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, I love that. I was the same. I had like 10 CDs and, okay, shit, 5. And then, still after half an hour, like, I really want this, and then okay, I'll take this, and then feeling really bad in a way. I didn't take the other 3. I'm like, man,
can you hold this for me for next week? Yeah, man.
I was of course the only guy buying those CDs here, like no one.
Yeah.
Still and then it was a whole procedure coming home, opening the booklet, and
right, the liner notes. I learned so much.
Yeah, it's like. I miss that, to be honest. Now,
yeah,
I really that excitement of new album. Now, new album comes out, and you buy it on Bandcamp or you
download one song.
Yeah, and that's the
you're not getting. You're not getting the same kind. It's not the same process and ceremony.
Ceremony. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, but what was then the next step for you? So let's say you're 15, 16, and you're starting. We're talking about New York in mid 70s. You just started to go to jam sessions, or how did this work for you?
Well, so it was probably 14 that I had made okay, and I had. I had the lessons. I'd probably stopped by then, probably around 14. I stopped with the lessons because I went when I was 13 and 14. And so then now I'm enamored with the music, with jazz. And I'm like, okay, I knew some tunes and I could solo really not. But I had the idea and I knew something's wrong here because I can play this scale and this scale, but the rest of the neck is empty. And I'm watching TV, and, you know, they had a lot more jazz on TV back then. And I'd see guitar players, you know, Joe Diorio. I remember seeing him play with Dizzy, or seeing George, and shoot, even George and Glenn Campbell and George and Roy Clark, and all of them were like all up and down the neck. And I'm going, something is wrong, and I don't know what it is. And then miraculously, this is kind of how my life has worked from the beginning. The universe provided the answer for me in the form of a how-to column in the back of Downbeat. How to play 5 fingers. There was 5 fingerings for the guitar, 5 major scale fingerings for the guitar.
Wow.
It was like I opened up turned the page, and it was like the light shine, and I knew that was the answer. Now by then I had taken a junior high school elective after school course in music theory. I was serious about learning. I had taken no credit, just stay after school and learn music theory. I had studied with my teacher who'd spell a G7 sharp 5 flat 9, and he'd sit there, and I'd sit there for 20 minutes with one tear rolling down my face. For real.
That's hard.
For real. This is not a story. It's a story, but it's a true story. So my dad would be in the other room like, I'm so embarrassed. This boy. So I knew music. You know, I was formally trained in music, not so much in the guitar necessarily. So I knew that was the answer. There's a fruit fly right here that I'm going to get. Excuse me. It's bothering me. And so I knew that was the answer. I mean, I knew that was the answer because it was like, okay, I know that the major scale is the basis for every other scale in music. So if it is 5 fingerings on the major scale, which are going to take me across the 12 frets, then I can make that into every scale. So I'm done. Shut my windows, shut my door. No more going outside after school. No more basketball with friends. Nothing. Boom. School and in my room every day, getting it together.
And that's how it was, actually. I mean, that's what you did, like, really.
Actually.
Oh, man. Wow.
Actually.
Wow.
And trying to learn tunes, I'm hearing the music and I'm going like something about, I liked all the, Freddie Hubbard, Stanley Turrentine, McCoy, everybody, every name, there were a lot of things that Downbeat said.
Yeah.
I would go and listen and go like, and that was it. There was no debate, and there was no moral, there was no philosophical thing. It was just either I liked it or I didn't like it. And I liked the certain things. And it was like, what is it? I hear a similarity in the way that all these guys play. It's like everybody is playing their own version. They have their own way of saying this, but it's like a language. It's like, what is this thing that everybody's saying? I need to figure out how to say a few of these things so I can sound more like a jazz player, like I want to sound. What are those things? So now I'm listening to try to identify, like, how am I going to figure out what those things are? It sounds like it's going like this, like they're going like this. That's when it sounds the same. That's when it sounds like everybody's playing a similar a way in the language. What is that? Or maybe it's the cadence. Oh, wait, 2-5-1s. You're studying, so you're seeing
Amazing.
It's the 2-5-1s. It's over the 2-5-1s. Imagine being a kid. It's giving me goosebumps right now. This was, I'm condensing. This was my life. This was what was happening. So I started to try to get some 2-5-1s from these records. And, and now I'm playing the scales, and I hear the harmonic minor scale. And like, how am I going to learn how to play all these notes, memorize all these notes on a melody like Donna Lee? Like, how the heck?
Oh, man.
I'm like, where do I start? Okay, well, maybe you should use the chords, and then maybe the chords will give you a clue about where. Okay, so that's A flat. I see A flat major, got a half step in there, but I see A flat major, those 3-4 notes of, ooh, I'm gonna get this sucker. Oh, not on my keyboard though. Sorry.
You got to do it.
I'm determined. You can see how determined I am now. Wait, those next notes. What the heck? Sounds familiar though. Played the scale. It's the harmonic minor scale. Oh, because it's an F7 going to. So now I'm learning in my room, and that was it. That's how I figured out. So jam sessions happen. I had a little high school band. So a couple of guys from my high school, a couple of guys in the neighborhood, and we had a little band. High school. I went to the arts high school to music and art with FEMA. FEMA was in the band, and we did a talent show, and there was a gentleman backstage lurking around. I'm like, who's that old man lurking around? He was like 30 years old. He had a bald head. He was 30. Oh, he's old. Who is this guy? Whose dad is that? It was Weldon Irvine, the pianist. Yeah, right. So he comes and introduces himself to me and a couple of other guys in my band, telling us that he wrote this play and he needed some young musicians to play acting roles, and also if we were good enough to play in the pit for this off Broadway play in Brooklyn at the Billie Holiday Theater.
Oh wow, man!
That's nice. So I'm 16. It was my senior year of high school. So yeah, I'm 16, and so we go audition, get the role. So now I'm a professional. I'm 4 nights a week, 4 days a week. I'm taking the train to Brooklyn to go do this off Broadway play. Oh, Marcus Miller. Yeah, I know him from. He was at Music and Art my first year. Then he graduated. Oh, he's in the pit playing the bass. Cool. Hey, man, nice to meet you.
Seriously?
And we're doing. I'm like, yeah. And I'm learning every night because I couldn't really play. I mean, I could play a little. I knew music. I had that thing, the acumen and stuff, but take a solo, not quite yet.
What about sheet music? You could read or?
No, not really. And it wasn't really a little bit, but no. And it wasn't really.
Oh, amazing.
It was learning. It was like the old school way, man. The way the way that kind of we would learn through the history of the music is, if you're good enough, you can play by ear and you know enough on your instrument. It's like you're not faking anything. You're doing it like the original right way, because music is an oral art form. It's not a written art. You don't get anything from the page.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The page don't do nothing. Yes, of course, I'm not advocating not being able to read. In fact,
but I know what you mean. Yeah.
I practice daily now. When I figured that was another holy grail moment coming from the universe of having to figure out the right way to practice that, because I got chided as a kid for not being able to read, but I didn't know how to approach it. No teacher ever said, look, use the major scale fingerings, put your hand in that, let the key signature tell you which major scale, and then practice. Yeah. I'm down in the first position trying to play in like A flat, but like you can get it down, but I don't know, E flat or whatever. And like kicking myself because I suck. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, learning by ear. He would say, Bobby, that's not happening. We'd be in the middle of the show playing. We'd up behind a scrim up above the stage as the stage is going on. He'd yell over. It was just a long row of us, and he'd yell, Bobby, that's not happening. And I just change and try to play some, trying to play a part in this. Bobby, that's not happening. Okay. 3 times of that, and then finally, Bobby, that's happening. And then I'd have to say, okay, like, what am I doing that's making it happen right now? Okay. And then, the next night, and from that point on, I'd play something like So I was learning like that. And eventually, we'd have to climb down the little ladder and go do our scene, which entailed playing a song. And I had a solo in the song. It was like some kids practicing in their house or whatever. That was the scene. And I had a solo, and I played my solo, and then we crawl back up and climb back up and finish the show. And, I struggled through the solo. The solo had a few little changes, And I remember the night that I got it. And I remember hearing the musicians, Marcus and screaming, yeah! And climbing back up, chest all poked out like, finally, Yeah. So it was Weldon that took me to my first jam session. He said one night after the show, he says, call your mom, tell her we're going out. I'm going to take you to go sit in. Tell her I'll have you home by 1 in the morning. I said, okay. Called her. Sorry.
No.
Weldon's going to take me to sit in. I'll be home by 1. What's sit in? What's that? I said, I don't know. I'll tell you when I get home. So we go to a club, and I look at the chalkboard outside, the Al Haig Trio. I'm like, I know who that is. He's on those Charlie Parker records.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So go in and
that was your first jam session. Sit in.
No, that's not a jam. It was my first sitting in. Yeah.
Oh, wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Weldon had a melodica. he had his melodica, and on my guitar, we go in and we find a seat. This is back in the days, I'm like 16.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But I had an escort, I guess. It was cool. But and so I'm sitting, and Weldon goes and talks to him, comes back. He's got a funny look on his face. I'm like, what happened? What did he say? He says, no to the melodica, but he said, you can sit in.
Oh,
I'm
man.
Like, really? He said no to the adult? Well, the adult had a melodica. He wasn't.
Oh, my.
It's Al Haig, he's like melodica. So I sit in and play 1, maybe 2 tunes.
What did you play? You remember?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But it was a tune that I knew. So that's good, And whatever I played afterwards, he said, sound good. He's like, I have a gig every Tuesday through Friday at a club on the Upper East Side called Gregory's. Come play. You come play with me whenever you want.
Really? Oh, wow, man.
And he should never told me that, because I was there like 3, sometimes 4 nights a week.
Wow.
And I had my little curfew. I had to be home by midnight. I had to have my homework done. I had to be home by midnight.
Man.
So I was there at least 3 times a week.
Wow.
You know this tune? And he'd have me come up right from the beginning. It wasn't no like show, like it is today. And everybody, like it's a big, it was a community thing for he is playing in a place. He saw a youngster that he felt wanted to learn and had some talent, and he wanted to help.
Yeah.
And so he helped. He called me for some paying gigs too. A couple paying gigs. Yeah. So and then, so it wasn't lost on me what was happening. And then when he couldn't make the gig, he would call a sub, Walter Bishop Jr. Oh, okay, wow. Another Charlie Parker guy. Like, well, okay, cool.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Man.
So now here's the weird thing. At some point after I really got into jazz, like now I'm hooked, I'm on this pursuit. And one day I'm playing some records or something in my room, and the thought dawned on me, because I had already made the determination, this is what I'm going to do with my life because of George, that, take 5 solo.
Yeah, man, yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's crazy. And I thought, it's not going to happen the way you are dreaming because you're too young, dude. You're 15. And these guys are adults.
Yeah.
And it's 1975. You're listening to records from 1945 through now. They're already finished doing this. You're not gonna be involved with them. You're not gonna be involved with this, like, and it was like, I was born a generation too late. Uh-oh. And then I thought, this was for real, man. I'm not playing, man.
No, it's just incredible.
I was sad. I was upset that day. And then I thought, I don't care. I'm just going to, I want to get good. I want to be able to play. If there's an imaginary club of musicians, like, you know, where you could get membership to this club, I want a membership to that club. I want to learn how to play. I want to be good. I want the respect of my peers, whoever they are. And I don't care what happens. I don't care if I don't get to do it with these guys. I just want to play.
Yeah.
So that was it. I forgot about that sad feeling and bam, kept practicing. And then these things started to happen.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I'm sitting there and there's Al Haig. There's Walter Bishop Jr.
Yeah.
So somebody comes to me after the show one night in Brooklyn. There's a guitar, you know, because sometimes people would, you know, oh, somebody wants to meet you, blah, blah, blah. So I go, hi, my name is Errol Ray. I'm a guitar player. Oh, really? Nice to meet you. You know, I'm like, oh, really nice to meet you. And he says, yeah, I played guitar with Sonny Rollins. And I'm like, oh, really? Sonny Rollins? Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah. Sorry, I have to do the acting, but it's
amazing. It's amazing.
It is amazing, man. So he said, so we talk, and then at the end, he pulls out this piece of paper with the address and everything already on it, and says, I want you to go do this audition. This date, such and such a date. I want you to go audition. Don't go to this. This is a rehearsal studio. I want you to go audition for Sonny Rollins.
Wow. Okay.
I'm like, what? Wait a minute. You said you play guitar with Sonny Rollins. What do you? And he says, no, he's going to be looking for a guitar player. Okay. Told my parents. They said, okay. Went down there. Whatever rehearsal studio it was, sat in the waiting room till Sonny came out. He came, got me, went in the room. It was Bob Cranshaw, Sonny, and Eddie Moore on drums. He's like, oh okay. You know, do you read music? Can you read these charts and chord charts? I get, you know, and yeah, I can do that. Okay, let's play a little bit. And we played for an hour. I wasn't nervous. I was just like, wow, I'm here I am, and I'm making music right now, and I can only play what I can play, and I'm just trying to fit and make it sound good and play and have a good time. And everybody seemed like they were having a good time. We were just playing. And so that's what we did. Okay, good. Go wait in the waiting area, and I'll be out in a minute. So I sat out there for, a good 5 minutes or so. And then he came out. So you sound good. He says, I'm about to do a tour of some college dates. Can you do it? And I said, no, I said, man, really? No, but no, I'm a senior in high school. I have to graduate. He's like, oh, yeah. Right. Okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking, I'll call you, you sound really good. Keep it up. And, I'll call you when I get home, when I get back to New York. And so I said, thank you. And had fun. And Sonny Rollins is going to call me to say hello. Cool. So I remember waking up this one morning, getting ready to go to school, and I had the station on WRVR, which was the jazz station back then. And I learned so much from that station. So they used to play everything from Weather Report to, Louis Armstrong and everything in between. Everything in between. So I learned, it was perfect for me because I wasn't like straight ahead from I wasn't that kind of person. I just liked music. And if it was jazz, I was trying to hear what was going on. So the guy announces, whatever the date, Sonny Rollins at Carnegie Hall featuring Donald Byrd, blah, 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 a new audience's production. And so I said, Mom, Sonny Rollins is going to be at Carnegie Hall and we can probably go because I know Sonny Rollins now.
That's
and
bizarre,
we could probably go backstage or something. And and she was like, oh, yeah, okay, eat your cereal.
But that's bizarre. That's really that's incredible.
So, man, I'm sitting that night. I'm at my desk in my room doing my homework, and ring, the phone rings. And I'm doing my homework, so, the phone's right there on my desk. I'm imagining those phones now, man. Wow. And, Bobby, it's the phone for you. I'm doing my homework, Mom. You probably want to get this. Okay. Hi, Bobby. It's Sonny Rollins. I'm like, hi. He's calling me to say hello, right?
Jesus,
how are you? How was the tour? He says, oh, it was good. It was good. How's school? And he's like, well, I'm calling to see if you're available to do this concert. I'm doing a concert at Carnegie Hall. Oh, yeah, I just heard that on the radio.
Wow.
Yeah, I just heard about that on the radio. He's like, are you available? I'm like, oh, let me go check my schedule.
You're available.
I said, of course,
Jeez.
of course. So it's gonna entail some rehearsals, and I give you the dates, and and that was it.
Wow.
And R.L. Ray was also on guitar on that show.
So you played that in Carnegie Hall with Sonny and Donald Byrd when you were 16. Oh, man, come on.
I know.
Talking about that imaginary club, with what you mentioned before, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like...
And then, the funny thing was I wasn't even thinking about that thought I had. So now this is all in the looking at my life and seeing like, whoa, like imagine if I had said, I'm not, whatever, if I had some other reaction to that thought.
Yeah.
If I was discouraged by, because part of it was just dreaming about what I wanted to do.
But that's so beautiful about it, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. Oh, you're not going to be able to do that. I don't care. I want to do something. I wanted to do the music. I wanted to do the music. I was in love. I was that in love with the music. And then when I said whatever to the thought, the universe started doing its thing. Yeah. And I'm riding waves, doing the work.
And it's good that you were young because, Peter Bernstein told me like when Sonny called him, like, I don't know, when it was late 90s.
It was after I left.
Yeah,
no, it was the late 2000s.
Late 2000s, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I got an interesting Bernstein story about with Sonny. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, because with you, let's say Sonny calls you when you've done a couple of albums and you've played with, you made a certain name already. You've been in the music for 10, 15 years playing professionally. And then Sonny Rollins or Miles calls you or whoever, you're nervous, even though you did it. But for you, you were like 16. You were just like, well, yeah, hey, Sonny, I imagine myself, I'd be like, well, okay, well, that's cool.
I'm supposed to be here. He wouldn't ask me if it was no, like, when you're young, you are not jaded like that. The
exactly.
whatever.
Aware, in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Self-aware or being judgmental, all those things that we acquire more of in adulthood and all that. No, it was an innocence and naivete that I had happening. Yeah, that was helpful to me. And it was helpful in the way that people looked at me. because I was just like doe-eyed and just earnestly wanting to be involved and happy to be there. And that was it.
It's so cool that these guys were willing to, that someone like Sonny Rollins was willing to do that. I mean, that's what those guys did, like Miles, Tony
Absolutely.
Williams was 16, man. I mean, come
Absolutely. That's what it is, man.
Yeah.
So all of us, people like, how does Jackie McLean get my phone number? I don't know Jackie McLean. How does he get my phone number to ask me to teach at Hart School of I've never taught in my life. I'm 21 years old.
Yeah.
No, come on, man. Come do this.
Yeah, incredible.
Probably got the number from Sonny.
That's
I don't know. I know.
Man, it's like really.
And I'm still developing, man. I mean, I don't think I developed I had certain things together. I got the record deal when I was 20, made my first record, and I could play a little bit. I was talented, but it wasn't what an event. I mean, I still have limitations, and I know what they are, and I had them then, and I knew what they were. But I remember calling up Omar and Buddy Williams.
Yeah, I know.
When they asked me to do the record,
that's Clean Sweep, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember they asked me, and I was like, I'm not ready to do a record. And I called up Buddy and I said, man, GRP just asked me to do this record. I'm not ready to do a record. And he said, Broom, what are you talking about, man? Yes, you are. They wouldn't ask you. And yes, you are. And, you can learn and continue to practice and learn and get better and do the record. And so I said, okay. So then I called up Omar, Hakim, and he said the same exact thing. They're both on the record, by the way.
Sure. Marcus Miller and Dave Grusin and Victor Bailey and all these
guys. Marcus and I were roommates during those years. And then he went on and got his own place, and then Victor was my roommate.
Victor Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man. Really?
I had all the greatest bass players as roommates. So, don't mess with me on the bass. I know what I'm listening to.
No way, man. Yeah. But if you think about Clean Sweep now, how do you look at this record? I mean, the tunes were beautiful. You played Con Alma and,
And Marcus has one of the most incredible solos on Con Alma to this day. Yeah. I played it for a colleague of mine the other day. Just literally the other day. To tell him he's a big Marcus fan, and I said, "Have you heard him play?"
And he was 20. Also,
he was like, people don't know about Marcus, and I'm like, man, have you ever heard this? And he says, no, and I played it for him. Yeah. It's one of the best solos. So, it's an incredible time, And again, I still don't think I had hit that part of adulthood yet. I was probably still in puberty at 20. And I just made the record in all, it was totally genuine. Yeah. And when I look back at it, that's what it feels and sounds like. And it sounds good. I mean, my technique was good. It's like, and I was improvising, and it wasn't cut and pasty. It didn't sound like that. I mean, kind of was, but it didn't sound like that. I knew how to move it around well enough, I think it was okay for 19. I was 19, recorded it, and I listened to it now like a third party or something. I go, if I heard a kid 19 playing like that, I'd be like, yeah, you sound good.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's how I have to see it,
Yeah. But you were then like 19, and I have those records, no problem.
Right. Same. Yeah, it was like the next year.
And it's like Tony Williams on drums, and next year
I know, and Bobby
on drums. Yeah, and
Bobby Hutcherson.
Yeah. I mean, how did those things happen, and how did it make you feel? I mean, it's like you had it's like guys who you listen probably to, or
Well, you know what? I hadn't really heard a lot of Bobby Hutcherson, but Sonny Rollins and Tony Wayne. I mean, you know, but still, I was still a bit naive and a bit innocent, and just, you know, I'd done a few things now. You know, I'd gone to Japan with the GRP All Stars with Buddy and Marcus and Dave Valentine and Tom Brown, and played in, you know, in front of an orchestra and on television in Japan, and made a live record. And, you know, I had had a few experiences now. Then that led to my them asking me to do my own record. And, you know, I'd done the thing with Sonny, and I played with Hugh Masekela and traveled with him.
oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
wow.
went to South Africa with
wow,
Miriam Makeba. This was like
Wow.
them coming back from being in exile for however long.
How was
It was,
that like?
it was intense. It was still during apartheid too.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
intense. Yeah, we were stationed in a free state called Lesotho.
Oh yeah,
And but you know, we had to travel through Johannesburg, and that was a trip. Yeah, during that time, like even the little children were, you know, we were like New Yorkers, but we were traveling with some West African musicians, and their demeanor was totally different than ours.
sure.
I mean, we were like, why are they looking at us like that? We're like 19 years old. Why are they looking at us like that? And, you know, the West Africans were sitting, you know, in a corner somewhere with their heads down.
That's
Yeah,
that's
it's crazy. So yeah, I'd had some experiences, and one of my main, like, I remember being at Berkeley, because I went to Berkeley College of Music for a year after high school. So
Oh,
I played
really?
with Sonny. So I
Oh,
played
wow.
with Sonny, and then, you know, finished high school, went to Berkeley, studied there, met some people, you know, met James Williams. That comes into play very shortly after. Met a beautiful professor that had me play with him and his band, Bill Thompson. I just saw him after 40 years. I just saw him a few
Oh,
weeks ago. I went to Boston to play at Berkeley with some faculty, and
that's
Bill
beautiful.
came to see me. You know, so I remember Sonny coming to the performance center with basically, well, it was the Milestone All Stars with Al Foster, McCoy, Ron Carter, who I knew because his son played in our little neighborhood band. Ron Carter Jr. played the trumpet in our neighborhood band. So we would go over to Ron's house, and, you know, Ron Carter, be quiet, you know, hi, Mr. Carter, you know. And so anyway,
Amazing.
they came to the performance center, and I remember seeing the show and getting emotional. Like, I really wanted to play with Sonny, like, for real, in his band, you know, one day. And you know, I went back and said hello, and then that was it, you know. And then I moved back home to New York. After that year, I was like, man, forget this. My friends are starting to play on records. I'm going home. I'm gonna go to college at home, and maybe I can slip into some of these opportunities, you know. That's what happened. Then I quit school like shortly after that, because my head was not into school. It was like those opportunities. So, and then because you were talking about how did that? Yeah. So then I made the record, and apparently Sonny saw an ad for it in the New York Times. I think that's what the story was. And Bobby's got a record out. I wonder if he listened to it. Probably.
Man.
I bet he did, to check out, like, did he get better?
Yeah,
like, what's
exactly.
happening? And then I got a call.
Well, that was a different call, man, of course.
It was a different call that time. Yeah. And so
Wow.
now, it's
incredible.
Yeah.
And then you actually, you know, there are many footages now of that band, like the 80s. Like I watched yesterday one from Stockholm, and with Mark Suskin, and I think it's Victor. No,
and Victor.
Victor on bass. Yeah,
Victor on bass.
It looks, you know, Don't Stop the Carnival and all those tunes. And it looks so much fun when you guys play. It's like, you know, you youngsters and Sonny, and it's just like you are just like, you know, it's beautiful.
We're just like
energy. Yeah.
Yes, the energy, and we were
Yeah.
all about the energy because that's all it was. It was a bunch of testosterone kids running around. Yeah, it was an incredible time. Really an incredible time.
But you then played with Sonny later, 30 years later, right?
Yeah, that's crazy too.
How was that like for you as being already, you know, done so much work? How was it for
Yeah.
you personally and musically? I mean,
Well, you hit on it. It was, well, you know, so at that time, this was 2005, and you know, I'd been playing, and I think around 2000, because I was kind of still growing up through my 30s and doing things, fortunately, but you know, still trying to figure life out. And then at 40, I think I began to, I just knew there were some things that I needed to do. You know, I was fortunate to have worked with Dr. John.
yeah,
For
that's where I saw you in Maribor.
Really, right,
Because you know, this is my hometown, and I think I was 17 or 18 when I saw you on that big river stage.
Right.
Burning gig, by the way. That was so much fun.
You know what? It was so much fun, and I needed that. I needed that job at that point in my life so badly. Thank goodness for Ronnie Cuber for giving Mac my name.
Okay. Ronnie did it.
Yeah, and so Ronnie Cuber called because I had played with him, you know, in New York. Ronnie had a band. I was about 19, and Ronnie had a band that Marcus and Buddy must have recommended me for. But he had a band with me, Marcus, and Buddy, and we did some gigs, you know. And so that's how I knew Ronnie. And so now that was in the early 80s, but now it's 91. So 10 years later, I'm gone. I'm in Chicago. And he calls me, trying to think if we'd done anything prior to that. Yes, we had. He called me to do his record, Cubism.
Cubism, yeah, with Ben Perowski and John Locke.
Yes.
That's a burning record, man. I love that record.
It is a good record.
That's
Yeah. Yes, and I had a great time doing that. And so, you know, so a few years later, because it was like I'm getting my years mixed up, 93, 94. And so we did the Cuba record was like 92. Okay, so I get a call one evening from Ronnie. You know, I gave Dr. John's looking for a guitar player. He's got a list of like 20 names, but yours is one of them. Cool. All right, cool. Dr. John, I was in the right place. That's all I knew. And then he called, and I was like, I needed that gig. And so, man, was it like perfect, and a perfect learning experience, because, you know, that culture, that musical culture is rich and deep, and I knew nothing about it. And now I do. And it's cool. That's beautiful. You know, and I get to play with like Alvin Red Tyler and, you know, Herman Ernest. You know, these are real New Orleans people, you know, and you know, Red was involved in the, I can't remember the name of the record company, begins with an A, that made all those early R&B records, you know, with Fats Domino and, you know, they had a group of musicians that were doing those sessions. Mac was one on guitar, you know, at the time. So this was, you know, I was imagining in the early 50s. Don't quote me, but anyway, so yeah, man. So I learned a lot those years. I'm sure it added a lot to my playing. And then at some point, you know, Mac was like, okay, man, you need to go. I was just getting ready to buy a house. What are you talking about? He's like, you need to go. You got stuff you need to do. Cryptic. Okay. But I kind of knew, I was thinking along those lines around that time to myself. So, you know, it was in the air. It's like I knew, it's like, okay, what am I doing? I'm a jazz guitar player. I have no body of work. I need to do something about that. Right? I need to go be a jazz musician. I need to get a computer first thing, you know, because like Mac PC, I did that for a couple of years. You know, still had nothing. I had like web TV or something. So I left him. I had web TV. Then I got my first Mac. This was 1999. I got my first Apple computer. Started emailing and like, oh man, this guy wrote me right back. Like, does he know who I am? That's crazy. Wait a minute, you know, aren't I supposed to wait? So it's a whole new era.
Bizarre,
yeah. So, and you know, I've been teaching the whole time. You know, I've continued to teach, and now I'm teaching at DePaul University. And made Modern Man and Stand.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm on my way to answer this call to establish my body work. Right. This is stuff that I knew I needed to do now. So okay. And then one morning I woke up like I need to get my master's degree because I've been teaching for like on and off for 20 some years now. And I need to honor this area of my career. You know, this is important. This is part of who I am. I deserve to have my master's degree. So I'm going to go get it. Wow. So I did. I was 40 some years old, 45 years.
That's amazing.
And so I'm in school right over here at Northwestern University, getting pursuing my master's in jazz pedagogy. Yes. Man. And ring the phone. The phone rings. First phone call was Ramsey Lewis. I'm putting together this band, Urban Nights, and you know I've done a few records with it, but I want to do an established band, and I want you to be in it.
Wow.
Bet. Let's go in the studio. We're gonna make a record. Okay, I'm gonna figure out how to do all of this, be in grad school and do this. And so we did that. And then ring again. Sonny Rollins calls. Like, and I needed it at that point because now I'm in like academia, and it's like it's like, what does this really have anything to do with jazz? I mean, I'm a jazz musician. You know, I came through this thing for real.
Yeah.
And I'm not feeling this right now. I'm not feeling the connection. I don't feel the connection right now. And that's not all of academia, because now I'm in a position where I feel the connection every day.
Yeah.
It's coming out of my office and the office across the hall and down the hall and down, right? So it's possible. I should have listened to Jackie McLean, who was trying to mentor me into that field back then. He offered me the position of director of guitar.
Oh wow!
At Hart School of Music, and I had turned him down because I was like, I am not qualified. He's like, come on, man, I'll help you. You know, I can't do that, man.
Wow!
I felt like that would have been a farce, and it would have been, but you know, that's the American way. So, but I guess I wasn't that type of American. Sorry, America, I love you, but you know what I mean.
That's beautiful.
So, I earned all of this. You know, I went and got my master's degree 20 years later, and Sonny called and was like, you know, this is after Lucille had passed, his wife had passed. And he said, and we talked on the phone, you know, and called him to see how he was doing. And we talked throughout the years, you know, and he asked me to play sometimes. And, you know, I remember one time he asked me to do a gig or some gigs. And I was, you know, in the band, like with Mac, and we were traveling all the time. And I just couldn't see fit to just, so I, said I can't do it, to Sonny Rollins. I've been known to do that a few times in my career, to like turn down some, like, oh, Miles, I can't play this gig because I committed to a gig with Kenny Burrell. We just made a record with the jazz guitar band.
Yeah.
And Miles was like, Kenny Burrell? And I was like, yeah, So who you gonna get to sub? I'm like, well, okay. And I gave him a name. And I was prepared to lose the gig because, this guy played way better that style guitar than I was trying to do. I was faking my way through that stuff. I knew it. Miles knew it. We all knew it.
No, wait a second. I want to catch you here. Like, I listened to the other day, you with Miles in Minneapolis gig. It's a full gig from YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
It's like that one phone call, speak, and all that stuff. Yeah. And man, you're playing like, I first couldn't believe that it's you. It's like really the slickest Schofield licks. Amazing.
Really? See, my perception, that's cool to hear from the outside. And, I have to remember now that I'm adult with all this self, awareness, it's been part of my learning as an adult and through life, rather, to not take myself so seriously and to not be so hard on myself as a musical judge.
Yeah, I think that's important.
I'm notorious to myself. It's bad. So, I hear things differently coming out of me. Now, if I get enough time away, but that, not so much. Not that. There's some things that I kind of dabbled in fusion-wise that I listen to and I go like, if I had really had, like, if my heart was in that to pursue that, I could have done that pretty good. There's some things, have you heard the ESP record we did?
Yeah, sure. I saw you guys in Ljubljana, then with Daryl and Robert in the studio, Yeah. I think you had like a leather jacket on, like a red. No, did you? A red one?
No, I wasn't red. No, I never had a red.
No, not red. Or no. Robert had a red.
Yeah, it's probably Robert.
I remember a red leather jacket, but I remember you playing. You were burning it. Like that was a good gig. That was a great. Those were the guys that recommended me to Miles. Daryl and Robert.
Daryl and Bobby, yeah.
Oh, they really from Chicago, right?
Yeah, and they really respect. Daryl was in. Me and Daryl went like this. He went to New York. I went to Chicago, but they respected my playing and musicianship, and they recommended me for the gig. They knew the type of guitar play, but maybe they weren't listening to it like that either. Like they knew what I could do. And then I, thought that I could handle the gig, but my heart was, I'm doing like Kenny Burrell in the jazz guitar band.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And Miles. Come on, man. That's like as much of a like. Yeah. Anyway.
Bobby, how was that first gig with Miles like for you? How did you feel? Like, I guess not comfortable. So like sounding like what you were saying now, or am I mistaken?
I was fully aware that it was a fluke. No, I was fully aware that I probably wasn't the right fit for him. Like in my heart, like I wasn't a fusion guitar player.
Yeah.
In my heart, right? But it's Miles Davis. So when they told me send him some stuff, I got on my little 4-track and did my best impersonation, and it was good enough for him to call me. I still had my apartment in New York at the time, too, so that was cool. So when I would go to do something, I'd just go home. I know the neighbors must have been, who is this little dude, like the guitar? Yeah. We had dates, and I'm making these dates, and then one of these dates is falling on the Kenny Burrell. And so anyway, the first gig was
oh man, it's incredible.
it's the first gig with Miles. It's like we're in Minneapolis, and it was like,
Oh, that was the first one, actually. Oh, wow.
yeah, I think
Okay.
so. I think
Wow.
so. Maybe it was somewhere else. I know we played Detroit. No, that was later. It was somewhere in the Midwest. I can't. Maybe not Minneapolis. That might have been the second gig or third gig, but wherever it was out there, and it's coming up here. My first solo with Miles is coming up, and I'm playing whatever rhythm. Pow! E string breaks.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Are you serious?
That's a portent right there. Okay, so tech guy comes out, and we're standing, and I look at Miles like, and he looks at me under his sunglass, whatever, and he looks at me like, oh, brother.
Oh, man.
So I get that E string on, He looks back over, you ready, EMF? Like, yes, I think so, and go. And then I go. Whatever. You heard it. You think it was okay. I mean,
you know what? When I hear it, I wouldn't say it's you. That's the thing. It's like you play amazing.
That's okay. That's all right. I didn't think it was me either.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. Good point.
It's amazing playing. So.
And I think he kind of knew. He would come over to me, would walk over to me on the stage and like play a line from 1950. Just like kind of just play it to me and look up at me like I know who you are.
That's beautiful.
And I said, I know you know who I am, So I did, like I said, when I had to call the sub, it was probably like my fourth gig. And the guy that I called is a guy named Alan Burrus. He's this whole thing, not that these like details from me, but it's all chronicled in this book called The Last Miles. And so
interesting.
I called Alan, and like I said, I was fully ready to hand the gig over because Alan is a fabulous musician and was a fabulous fusion player, like for real. Like I remember hearing him one night and saying, "Man, Schofield needs to hear this dude." Yeah, it was like
I
that.
have to check him out. Okay.
It was like that, and so I was like, you know what? He's the man for the job, actually. So, but I wasn't going to recommend somebody that, again, that's the type of, American I am. It's like, I don't know. My parents taught me some stuff they shouldn't have taught me, I guess. So, but he called me. I mean, I was on the gig after that. So I'm like, wow, okay. And I did one or two more gigs, and that was it. I watched Kenny Garrett come into the band. That was interesting.
Oh,
that
man.
was interesting. Yeah, that was interesting.
So Gary Thomas left and Kenny came, or?
It was Gary, and it was, how Miles did when he was looking for somebody new. He would have like the same instrument on and they both would be playing. Oh, so, wow. When I got in the band, it was Bob. Oh my gosh. I'm getting old. Play with him forever. Tenor player, New York. Bob Berg.
Bob Berg.
Sorry, geez, I had a brain fart. Bob Berg, who had been with him for years, right? And Gary Thomas. And I'm like, uh-oh. When I got in the band, I knew. I was like, uh-oh. And they played a few gigs together. Then Kenny Garrett came, and it was all three of them.
Oh, wow, man.
And Kenny, it was pretty obvious, because Kenny was hitting all the right, checking all the right boxes, Maceo, check. Cannonball, check. Kenny Garrett, check. Yeah. Right. So next gig was just Kenny Garrett, check. And wow. So that was cool.
Incredible.
And then I was gone, and I expected Alan to have the gig, but that didn't happen either. And then Foley got the gig.
Yeah.
I finally got a chance to ask Alan what happened, and he didn't know either. He said, "Yeah, they asked me to get my passport, and then I don't know." So.
Oh man, yeah, that's bizarre. But you mentioned Kenny Burrell. I have the Generations record, like when you play Lover Man, it's so beautiful and stuff. Mm-hmm. And how did that story with Kenny happen, actually? I mean,
whoa!
In the middle of all these Sonny Rollins confused.
That's another incredible story. I hate part of me doesn't like telling these stories because they seem like some kind of weird magic or something.
Well, that's how it many times is, isn't it? Like, someone calls you, or in a way.
I guess, but sometimes I have to like still say, did that happen? Yeah, it happened. Okay. So I had just moved to Chicago. This is 84, probably. And I went to a club. I'm going to try to tell this story in a respectful way. I went to a club because now I'm an elder. I'm 60 years old. I'm telling the story. Okay. That's my caveat. So I'm 23, 24 years old. I go to this club with my then girlfriend and her brother, and we had about 5 or 6 people in our party. We go to the jazz showcase to see Nat Adderley and Eddie Harris.
Oh wow!
Play. Right? Yeah, that's what I was like there. And so I had just met Eddie a couple months prior. Somewhere I was on the road with Sonny and Eddie Harris. We had a night off and Eddie Harris was playing, so I went and I heard him, and then I, talked to him in between and, just introduced myself and talked to him a little bit, and that was it. So I'm there, and on the break, I approach him and reintroduce myself, and oh yeah, I remember. How you doing? Yeah, we just met and blah blah blah. And how you doing? Oh, you live here? Oh yeah. Where's your guitar? You got your guitar? And I'm like, no, I don't have it with me, but I live like 3 blocks away. I can go get it. Go get it, man.
Oh.
I run home, come back. When I come back in, they're about to start the set. And there's some 2 other local musicians on the bandstand getting ready to apparently sit in. So I'm like, oh, perfect timing. So it's like a Friday or Saturday night, right? The place is packed.
Yeah.
So I like hunched over with my amp and my guitar, and I'm like kind of literally almost crawling through the audience to get to the side of the stage. And I'm kneeling down the side, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible, right? And I catch the eye of the MC, the owner, and I say, he looks at me, looks at the audience. He's on the mic. He does that. My heart sinks. I'm like kneeling on the ground, on the floor. I'm like, maybe he didn't understand what I said. So I wait, catch him again. Now, Eddie and Nat are like, hey, man, it's cool, man. We asked him to play. Let him play, on the stage, right? I'm hearing this and I'm going, yeah, I mean, where I'm from, the musicians decide, not the club owner. So he walks off the stage and goes out, sits in the lobby or whatever. And now the music is going, and it's Friday night and the place is packed, and I'm kneeling there like an idiot. And so my next instinct was go out and talk to this gentleman because I just need to. So that's what I did. I kind of was still hunching over, pretty embarrassed. My guitars and amp are sitting up against a wall, kind of back behind, and, down off the stage against the wall. So I go out and I introduce myself and I say, I played with a few people, like Al Haig and Walter Bishop Jr. and Sonny Rollins. And, oh, and they asked me to play, and he says, "Oh, well, if you play with Sonny Rollins, if you were playing with him when he played at whatever, I don't want you playing on my stage because neither one of you are playing any music, and it just what you're playing is bullshit, basically."
Well,
And I'm like, "Whoa, I'm 24, man. This is an adult, for real. Not like when I was a kid and somebody was 30. No, I was a." So I say, now I'm starting to get a little upset. And I said, "Well, wait a minute. First of all, I'm from New York, and like I said, I play with some people, and the way that I came up, the musicians decide who they want to have play with them." I said, "Second of all, I don't know if you've ever really heard me play. Because, I don't think he had. I had some good nights with Sonny every now and again, but that wasn't really, like I knew that I don't think he'd heard me play." And so then that was what I had to say. And my next thing was, I'm going to get my party of 5 and we're leaving. And then I walked back in and it was like, oh, shit, my amp and guitar are up there by the stage. I've got to go get them first. So I go up to go back through the audience. Then New York kicks in. I start unpacking my stuff. Take my cord out of the case, plug my, where's the plug? And then, Eddie Harris is like, over there. Plug my stuff in, put it up on the stage. They point to me. I'm mad now. I got a point to make. And I made it. And the audience went haywire.
Oh, wow.
Literally, they were screaming after my first solo.
Wow.
Bam. So we played another tune, same thing. So now I got dramatic after the second solo. Audience is going up. I unplug. I'm going to leave now.
Oh, wow.
And Eddie Harris is like, "Man, where you going, man? We're going to feature you on the next song." And I'm like, and he's like, "Okay." And I that was it. And so I won't get into the rest of the details, but suffice it to say that kind of as an apology, I was invited to sit in the following week with Kenny Burrell.
Oh, okay.
That's how that happened. That's how I
Wow.
met Kenny. And that led to his formation of the band.
Yeah.
It was like, the following year he put the band together. So that was kind of the impetus.
Amazing. Wow. Wow, man.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. So amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing stories.
So yeah. It's
Yeah.
boy.
It's
Yeah, and still practice. I'm still practicing, so it's not over.
No, come on, man. We got to get you to Europe again, like to see you as a band leader in Europe.
It would be beautiful. I had such a good time, and it was like such a long time coming.
Yeah.
It hasn't been the easiest road for me as a leader, but I've forged ahead anyway. And sometimes when I'm asked to do things because I haven't done them before as a leader, I'm like a little I'm questioning, like, how is this going to be received? Are people going to be there? Like, what, and I'm always pleasantly surprised, and we always do really, really well. So it just lets me know that, if given the opportunity, it could be exactly what I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm still fighting the good fight. Fortunately, I finally landed a full-time position in academia.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah.
That's
so
important.
I am, and it couldn't have come at a better time because it happened in the fall of 2019. So I had one semester under my belt, and then bam, the world changed.
Yeah, the world
Right?
stopped.
But meanwhile, I had employment, and so.
Well, and also artistically, I think I teach as well. It's important because financially, you're then okay.
Exactly.
So you can practice, you can organize
it. Changes the reasons why I do what I do now.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not because I feel like I need to contribute to my household, and I feel like I'm not doing enough. And if only the universe or the music business, whoever it is, the gatekeepers would allow me to do that. I mean, it's proven that if I'm allowed to do it, I can do it, and I can make the numbers are good, and the people know, and they come and they enjoy themselves, and they tell me, and they buy my CDs that I'm selling. I mean, it's like it's normal. Yeah. So, but if I get one tour every 5 years, that's not going to sustain me. If I'm doing a handful of leader gigs when I'm allowed, that's not going to sustain me. So now, if that can continue to happen, that'll be good. And I don't have to look at it like it's gonna my contribution to my family or my sustenance depends on that.
Yeah. That's really important.
Yeah. Really so that, thank goodness for Jackie McLean for igniting this part of me, because it definitely is. I'm sitting under my mom was the first one in on her side of the family to go to college and to get her master's degree. She was born in 1921.
Oh, wow.
1921, coal miner's daughter, Black at that time. That's pretty incredible. So she instilled a lot of that, as well as the musical love. She was a big music lover. Her and my dad were music lovers, but she was really, creative spirit, and loved music, and shared that with me, and shared whatever this other side of me that she was an English teacher, so I
that's important.
Do that to me. she subjected me to that, and so it's all meaningful.
It all comes together, makes sense. Yeah.
So that's we talked very little about music. Well, but the way that I've come to understand it is that music is life, and vice versa. I've learned so much about myself and my relationship to people, and through playing music. And learning music. So I'm still a student too, and teaching helps. You know how that is.
Oh yeah, but it's beautiful. Yeah, to be able. It's a privilege. Rodney said the other day, like Jones, he was like, he doesn't see himself. He has a different calling. He doesn't see himself as a jazz guitarist who's a teacher, but as a teacher of jazz who's a jazz guitarist as well. That's that he really feels comfortable doing that. And I was like, man, that's his mission in a way, even though he's done everything. So it's nice to have that.
It took me a long time to get to this point, like when I first started teaching in my 20s, I didn't feel like I just wasn't an adult and settled in what I had to, I didn't feel like I really had that much to offer. I knew I knew things, and I taught those things, but it wasn't until into my mid 30s that I felt like, I've got experience. I've done different things, I'm an adult. Yeah, I got something to teach, and then now all those years later, of course. And
the older you get, the wiser hopefully we get. So
Well, Victor used to say the older you get, the older old gets. So I'm going with that one. I love that one.
That's a good one. I have to remember that actually.
Yeah, the older you get, the older old gets. That's coming in handy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, beautiful.
Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.